what does PMI mean by impediments? Any sort of hindrance or any obstruction in doing something, that is an impediment. Like it's something which keeps us from the flow, like a hiccup when we speak, or a diversion on the road. The more impediments we have, the slower the project is going to run. So as a project manager, our job is going to identify these obstacles, prioritizing them, and solving them. And don't take these impediments as something unwanted for the project. Like you should always expect them, right? So these are not additional work. The project management is all about solving these impediments, right? It is one of our main responsibilities if we are the project manager. So we have to expect these and work towards solving them. And what are these impediments? The impediments in a project could be the delay in decision from the management. There could be a quality issue, or there could be delay in the test result. Sometimes these impediments could be the whole team. Consider there is a situation, you are changing something disrupting in the organization, like upgrading to Windows 11. So from Windows 10, you are upgrading the software of the whole organization to Windows 11. And then the whole coding team is against it because the team thinks that the software that they are using, it's not going to work, as quickly as it used to work in Windows 10. It's just an example. Windows 11 is great. So let's see what PMI says here. So in this task, we have to determine critical impediments, obstacles, and blockers for the team. We have to prioritize the critical impediments, obstacles, and blockers for the team. We have to use network to implement solutions to remove impediments, obstacles, and blockers for the team. And we have to reassess continually to ensure impediments, obstacles, and blockers for the team are being addressed. So that's about it. You can have a look at the example questions, and then we can move on to the next topic as you're done. Moving on, domain 1, task 8, negotiating project agreements. PMI has given this as a task, but if you ask me, this has to be the basic necessity of being a project manager. So with the overview of tasks that I've given to you so far, you must be already aware about how many different teams a project manager has to deal with. So starting from the very first stage of the project of initiation to the very last stage of the project, the closing stage, every activity of a project manager will face criticism. So this criticism is quite healthy. It should not be taken in a negative sense. A project manager has to be able to debate with these critics and then make them understand why you are proposing a task that needs to be done. Why have you set the targets in that way? Why should we do these additional testings for the product? Everything is going to be discussed at different stages with different people, and the project manager has to negotiate these agreements, right? There is no way around. Sometimes you also have to negotiate with the higher management to accept a change, and in this case you have to be acting as a supporting member of the team, and sometimes it's the other way around, right? So you have to negotiate with the team supporting the decision from the higher management. So you have to negotiate with the suppliers and the customers both. So you name them, you have to negotiate them. Okay, so considering the task, what is expected of us from PMI, we have to negotiate the project agreements with the help of these 5 enablers that we see here. First, we have to analyze the bounds of the negotiations for the agreement. We have to assess the priorities and determine the ultimate objectives. We have to verify the objectives of the project, whether the agreements are met. We have to participate in the agreement negotiations, and then we have to determine a negotiation strategy. So as I told again, I have mentioned the key points that you have to learn, and then questions that you might expect from the PMP exam. Moving on, domain 1, task 9, collaborating with stakeholders. The English dictionary meaning of the word collaboration is actually an action of working with someone to produce something. So the word produce has some importance here. We all work together in a team, right? So a project is very rarely handled by a single person. It's usually a team's job, right? So even if the project is so small and you are the only person working on it, you still have to collaborate with either the customers or maybe even the vendors. So a designer has to collaborate with the testing team to understand the correctness of a design, and a production engineer he has to collaborate with the quality engineer to understand the effectiveness of his manufacturing process. So many examples can be given. So as a project management task, what we have to do, let's read it from PMI. So in this task, we have to evaluate the engagement needs for the stakeholders. We have to optimize the alignment between the stakeholder needs, expectations, and the project objectives. We have to build trust and influence the stakeholders to accomplish the project objectives. Moving on, domain 1, task 10, building shared understanding. So this task is, all about removing the confusing statements or misleading directions between the stakeholders. As a project manager, we have very fair understanding about what to deliver, when to deliver a task, and what is the level of the quality that we need. But this understanding may not be the same understanding with all the stakeholders that you are going to work with. So I remember a very famous joke here. So it goes like this: a wife tells her husband, "Honey, go to the supermarket and bring a liter of milk. If they have eggs, bring 12." The husband brings home 12 liters of milk because the supermarket had eggs. So that's a classic example of not having a shared understanding. The husband did his job and also followed the instruction from the statement, but the expectations from the wife were different. She actually meant 1 liter of milk and 12 eggs. So within a team, the project manager has to ensure that all the instructions are clear enough for the meeting, for all the requirements as per the customer's expectation. So let's see what the PMI wants us to do here. Task 10, build shared understanding.